So that it won't further crack upon and the paint layer is lost. But even then, we are supposed to look at it as an old painting and not a new painting. So we are not going to hide those cracks with a putty, or we are not going to repaint, or it is not a cosmetic thing which we are going to do. We want to show people the actual age of the work, plus the history of the work and the original artist work. If we are going to do flatten the cracks and put putties on it and make it look very, very new and fine, then people will see our work, not the original Robert Smith work. So we have to show what the artist has done and not what the conservator has done. So that has to be visible, and we try our level best so that whatever work we do is into a background and the artist work is showcased. Always show.
Well, wouldn't that tie into what you were saying earlier? Like, we're a part of the history. We're not the history, we're part of the history. So like all those cracks and everything that, maybe people in the general public will see as like imperfections, but that is the story in and of itself, where this painting went through whole processes, then the men and women behind the scenes, including yourselves and the people here as well, that you've took the time and preserved it and paid attention to it. That in itself is a meta history to the painting.
Yes.
So how important is, because for me the way I'm interpreting it right now, this is real, like right now, is that is as important to the history in itself, because it's like a adventure into rediscovering who we are in itself. You have the paintings, which was a moment in time, the topography, the history of Penang around the time the Union Jack was raised, but also in reclaiming that history back, because we have to because the Penang State Museum had to reclaim back paintings. So what does that mean in the historical context? Should we look at it as just some artists who came in the beginnings of Penang, or should we look at it as like sort of an inspiration?
In both ways actually, because that painting actually shows what Penang was before.
As a reference?
As a reference.
Yes.
As a historical reference, as a what exactly in that area was compared to what it now is, like what are the changes that has happened over the years, and plus the artist which might have, who has created it, has given in so much of detailed description of it. So that's the beauty of the place which is being seen, as well as the artistic what you say,
choices, viability. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it then sparked what I'm about to say, because one of the things that I was told when we were having that workshop was the captain may not have painted it himself. It was subcontracted, like maybe he did a sketch or maybe he did a description, but at some point it was subcontracted to an unnamed ghost painter.
It might have happened.
Or it might have?
Yes, there are instances like that. There are sometimes even the artist does that because he might have not painted it on the spot. He might have made a sketch out of it, and then he must have taken it back where he is, and he must have elaborated it according to the sketch. That's what mainly most of the artists do when they do the landscape painting. Sometimes it
painting
because we do not have
1 or 2 weeks sometime, that they have only and particularly 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah, because this is before photography. You know, now it's like take out a phone, click, click. This one's more like, all right, you know.
Yeah. And it could have happened that he had not painted it the whole thing, because we do not have any signature on any of the work.
There's
So
no
there is no
signature.
signature on the
signature.
work.
At all.
At
all.
Aside from the frame, there's a
And also there is a
Metal piece,
there
yeah.
one thing which is noticed is all the works are previously restored, like
They
long
were
back.
Already restored.
They are already
by
restored.
whom?
No idea about that,
Before
because
40-50 years before.
it might be,
Yeah.
because the original painting has been lined onto a different canvas from behind.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the process actually, but it might be because the painting had been damaged during that time long back and they had to repair it again. So there are areas where we find that the painting has been stuck onto a different canvas, so the signatures might be on the original canvas
On the
which are hidden
Back.
under the newer canvas.
Underneath the layer of paint.
You never know about that.
Wow. No, it's blowing my mind right now that even in a single painting there is so much going on.
Yeah.
You know, because maybe most people when they go and see the painting itself at the Penang State Museum, it's just they just pass by. Oh, it's a lovely, beautiful painting. But the subtext, the nuances within the devil is definitely in the details here. There's so much more than meets the eye. You know, because one of the things that I thought was odd, and I'm using this word as how it's meant to be, there were memes. There were memes within the painting, like repeating patterns. That's what it means. Memes mean repeating patterns within the paintings itself that I couldn't decipher whether it was actual people inside there, because they were the same deers, they were the same two people in the waterfall,
Yes.
in the mansion, and everywhere. So how can you discern whether those memes was added way back when, or was that during the conservation somebody put it together and
We can find that out because during the examination, as we have the UV light and we have microscopes. Now right now we do not have the microscope, but we have the UV light. So when the UV light falls onto the original painting and whatever has done after that, there is a color difference actually seen.
Even in the same color.
Even in the same color.
Yeah.
So visually you may
reflective
not
index
be
is
able
different.
to see, but in the UV light you are able to see which areas are being retouched, redone by anyone else
It look like
after
the
the
dark.
so
painting.
you can see the past work.
Yes.
Was there any like Da Vinci Code kind of message in the, I don't know, like, you know, was there a message? You know?
No,
No, okay,
but it always shows what are the damages the painting had, wherever the artist has the original thing is, and wherever the conservator or maybe someone who was there during the conservation thing happening has done on it. So there are two different things onto the painting, and then we decide upon if that is damaging the work or not damaging the work. If that area which the other conservator has done is damaging the work, we remove it.
Weaker.
Was there any?
No.
Not most of it, but sometimes the retouching was very badly done. The colors were different. The different shades of colors were put
How
on.
could you tell the different shades?
Yeah, we can do that.
With the UV light?
Yeah, with
Yeah,
the UV light as
and
with the visible
neck
light.
also. We can see it directly also.
So we have to remove that, which can be done, and we have done that. And on the areas which we think that nothing was necessary, also there was a bit of more retouching done.
Yeah. Just
So
to hide
the area.
Other area, then match the other area.
So there was little more retouchings which are visible. So we removed that, and the original painting beneath is underline is fine.
So what you guys have done with the painting is in a way the most purest version of what it looked like, because you
Yes.
remove the I don't know if mistakes is the right word, but what would you call it, like imperfection?
Makeup, just like
Oh, great. You remove the makeup. Oh, wow, that blows my mind, because then that is a luxury that I never thought I would have with any piece of work, where like for decades before us, people have seen a manufactured, dare I say, even bastardized version of what it was, but now we have it in its purest and
Yes,
honest
most
form.
Yes.
most
almost.
of what it was like
Yeah.
during the artists have painted it.
Wow. But what was going through your mind when you saw that? Did you make any judgments?
No, not judgments, because it always happens when we have the oldest paintings or the old artworks where, like, during in the mid somewhere the painting must have been damaged, so that has an history again, and there might be some conservator or an artist who has looked at it and has done whatever best he could at that moment of the time. It might be good at that time, but it is not at this moment.
Just
So-
a replay.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is always we think about is if that is harming the work.
Yeah.
If that person's work is doing any damage, more damage to the artwork right now, if that is the case, we remove it. Otherwise, if it is gone through so many years and it is good, it will stay
It's
again
not depend
good.
that that time technology is very less material. Now we have more, so we can replace that. This does not depend. It's any harmful or any distraction. If found, then we can replace.
I mean, let me try to put into context for the viewers who are watching this podcast what that means, because we don't realize a lot of how we consume histories as normal everyday citizens is a third degree form of research. You know, the first-hand researchers are the archaeologists, the anthropologists, those who actually go deep dive and dig it up. And then they write a thesis. And then the second level is some well-mannered speaking author. Maybe one day I might be one of those. I then read these theses, compile it into a book. And then that book, some other well-meaning author uses my book as a reference. And then now you have a third degree of consuming history. So for me, knowing that, and knowing that at the ground level, the first-hand research, the artifact itself, what I'm seeing with my own eyes, is fallible, scares me. Because I have only recently discovered how fragile our history is. You know, like for the longest of time, we thought what was the name of the theory? I think it's called the Donovan First theory, where we were all cavemen, and then it was only because people only looked in Europe. And then when they went to India, to Asia, they were like, oh wait, cavemen here, but civilization here. Huh? You know? So that's why right now anthropologists, thank God, and archaeologists in the West are starting to say, hey, maybe we haven't done enough. But that's what I mean when the first-hand items like these paintings, the significance of it, the fact that it could have been the truest form hidden under layers and layers and layers of paint or paint thinners, whatever what may be. I'm sorry, I'm not in this profession. I'm just trying to use the best I can to describe it. But it has been hidden, that the real truth of the history behind it may be literally lost because you have third, second, and we're talking about first degree.
Yes. Sometimes that
Sometimes.
happens, yes. Sometimes that happens. Here it has not happened in that context,
Yeah.
because it was only a minimal things which have been restored earlier, but there are sometimes way beyond restorations where the original and the restoration part is difficult to understand.
Overpower.
It is overpowering. It happens, yes.
So that means that what you and what the museum do is more important than, well, okay, maybe that's too much of a big claim, but it is important because we're talking about history here. You know, it is not set in stone at all. It is not like, you know, because for me, when I grew up, I was like, oh, it's in a textbook. It must be firm and signed, sealed, delivered. When it's not. It's ever moving. It flows. It ebbs. It reveals itself. But if there's nobody there to do your work, if there's nobody there to do the museum's work of preserving the artifact, we will never know.
Yes.
Yes.
That scares me. How much we do not know.
And that's why we need museums, and that's why we need conservators, and that's why we need to look at history, and that's why history is so important.
Museum, no, museum only for not for object. It's not for old. That's why antiquity. It is a cultural.
It shows our culture,
Culture.
yes.
Process. We are thinking about history all wrong. I mean, you are practitioners of your craft. You know, museum practitioners. They get it, obviously. But what I meant was normal people. You know, if I didn't have my mom who went her path, I would have never have been interested in history.
Yes.
I would have never realized the significance of it. And most people don't realize the significance of it. But and I know for a fact there are a lot of people who's like, why do we spend so much money in museums? And I'm like, hello. Do you not realize what is to be lost?
Yes.
Can you maybe help me try to explain the gravity of this loss? You know, do you think that if, say for example, if you didn't go into conservation, the both of you, if you didn't go into conservation work, maybe you went into fine art and both of you respectively became really famous artists, but never gone into conservation work. Do you think anything that is not just here in the Penang State Museum, but in all of that you've worked on, do you think any of it would have not made an impact in the way it does?
Yes, it might be. Yes. Though there are many conservators around, if I would haven't done the conservation, or he wouldn't have been here in the conservation field, and we would have been doing something else.
Or maybe commercial something.
Yes, but yes, there would be a loss. There would be definitely a loss, because like our mindset and the way we have been maybe brought up, we have a lot of patience, we have a lot of skills which are meant to be, we are meant to be a conservator. That would have been lost. And there were many artifacts which would have been.
And there's still more.
And we lost the track also.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, you know, people think, oh, because it's in a museum, that's it, signed, sealed, delivered. History, full stop, let's write books on it. But like, we don't know what's in a storeroom in somebody's grandmother's basement.
Yes, we have so many in Mumbai itself. It's not only the museums we are working on, we are working for private clients, we are working for corporate clients who these days actually buy artworks for their offices, to beautify the offices, as also as a investment to look at. So there are many. So it's not only the museum we are concentrating on, we are looking
Because not every artifact goes into a museum, does it?
No, not
Like, for example, you were saying your exhibition, was it the reason why it's in London is because it was owned by another, like,
Yes,
there are
it's
private
like private
collectors.
Yeah.
So, do you then would say the job of the museum is important because they are actually documenting, preserving,
Yes.
you know, and even for
And
you,
open for public.
and open for public, because a lot of the private collectors is their home. Like, I'm not going to open my house to random strangers, but you would at a museum. Wow. So, because for me, right, these paintings ends a long-standing debate between two, I won't say their names, but two professors that I deeply love, and they're both brilliant in their own right. But professionally, obviously, their work is, real people, they're not at each other, but their work is clashing, because one is saying there was nothing there, and one was saying there was something there. You know, that's what I mean. Like, you know, if these paintings never existed, if you didn't come, if it was sitting in the storeroom with cracked frames that nobody cared about, the debate would never have been settled. We would never have. Right now, I tell you straight off the bat, right now, and I wish people could solve what Tanjung Tok and Tanjung Bunga is. There were people there way before the British came, way before the East India Company. These paintings right here in the Penang State Museum are testament to that. It solves that debate. that debate is not settled, and it's settled now. And because you guys worked on it. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it means everything to me.
Yes,
you know?
of course.
That's why we are as a career.
It's always so
Yeah.
satisfying when we restore any artwork which is so much has a significant value to anyone around.
Even history is some personal.
Yeah, so it's always so much satisfying to do our job, and eventually after completing the works, it's so much of relief that we have, whatever we have done is actually being
Meaningful and
it's
useful.
meaningful,
It is meaningful.
useful,
It
and
is.
it's going on to be visible for public after a few months, and people will look at it and enjoy it. Yes.
I'm gonna go back and really think about the implications of everything we talked today, and I want to thank you both for your work, the skills that you've developed in your 20 years, for being here in Penang and working with the people in the museum, and of course the people in the museum yourselves.
Yeah.
This is something significant to us. So thank you. On behalf of Malaysians, thank you for doing what you do. I really appreciate the both of you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate that the director has actually called us all the way from India just for these paintings. Yes.
Actually, we started our conversation in June 2020.
Yes, this all started in
the making.
yes, and it was in before 2020, before COVID, and then the lockdown happened, and then there were few projects which we had taken up during that time because that was important, like the government project, museum project. So this was all getting all pushed ahead, and right now we just completed the museum display and all, and then we thought that this is the time we have to be in Penang, and it's quite a long time that things are happening.
Wow, it took so long to get here.
Yes.
The history behind this.
Yeah, and Haryani has actually kept so much cool for us that
She's such
she
an
waited.
amazing person.
She waited for 4 years
she's
for
one of my
us to
favorite
come here.
people in the world. Like really, she's a visionary in her own
Yes.
right. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think people understand the impact she has on our actual history. You know, and this is it.
Yep.
Now is a history.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
People hand it here before I
Yep.
burst into tears. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh wow, guys. I hope that was special because that was special to me.
I hope this goes on good. Yes.
Yeah.